I blame the unethical practices of some providers out there. Continuing to add filler on top of filler on top of filler because you want to make money, to me, is just not how we roll.
This is the Aesthetics Growth Podcast.
Hey, it's Bref here, back with another episode of the Aesthetics Growth Podcast. And today, I'm absolutely chuffed to be joined by a room full of rock stars based out of Southlake, Texas. I've got Elaine, Lianza, and Alexa from the Med Spa of DFW. Ladies, I'm super excited to welcome you to the show. Thanks for joining today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So we caught it recently, coincidentally, in person, but in that small room that we were there, we've got a much bigger audience that would love to get to know you a little bit more. And I'd love it if you could maybe bring it back to the beginning for the journey that you kind of had as a team. And Elaine, I know you've had a career within aesthetics. Elaine, can you take the lead and just share a little bit about what your journey has been like to get here to where you are today within aesthetics and with the Med Spa of DFW?
Sure. So I'm Elaine, physician assistant, been a PA for, gosh, it's going to date me, but 17 and a half years, believe it or not. I've always done some sort of like surgical subspecialty, head and neck surgery, cardiothoracic transplant, a little bit of ER, and then I've done 12 years combined, or 12 and a half of cosmetic surgery, plastic surgery, medical spa type services. So let's see here. So that's kind of my background. And then as far as how the Med Spa of DFW came about. So originally, like I've always done medical spa services like the last 7.5 years or so. We're with a bunch of surgeons. We decided to go off on our own, even though we've always been separate, but officially become separate. And we did that. And we really take pride and feel like the three of us like gel really, really well. There's like a rock star. She's patient care coordinator, just does a lot of social media. Anne's a registered nurse, fabulous nurse injector. I've known her, how long have I known you? 6 years? 7 years, something like that. A while. Happy Nurses Week, by the way. Alexa's been with me about 2 years?
About a year and a half.
Year and a half. And actually, Lianza's 1 year, I think it's today.
Tomorrow.
And I had known, and actually, Lianza can kind of vibe on or expand on what we're going to talk about. If you look at the three of us, I'm 42, I think. Yeah. She just had a birthday yesterday. She's 24. And
Happy belated birthday.
Lianza's 29, but we pride ourselves and what we see too much of is people not saying no. Do you know what I mean? Overfilled faces, we're done. Like there's that saying, if you ever walk into an office and people look like crazy. Not to generalize, but in reality, that's not what we want. And if that's the look that you want, I'm happy to refer you somewhere else. I don't really know where. But a perfect example is that the first time I met Lianza was 7 years ago. She wanted to do some private training. So she approached me and I helped her. And she want to kind of, you're beautiful, but.
So I brought sample filler. I was learning how to inject at the time. And I came to Elaine and asked her if she could teach me everything she knew. I loved her lip technique as well. And so brought that sample filler and I said, can I watch as you inject my lips? That's my favorite way to learn, is to watch. I'm a very visual person. And she grabbed my arm and said, absolutely not. And I was appalled.
Wait, literally we had just met each other within like a couple hours.
All right.
And she said, word for word, I remember it like it was yesterday, you are way too cute to be walking around with those lips. And she was absolutely correct. So we dissolved and we started fresh. And at that time, I just gained a whole new level of respect for her as an injector and even as my mentor. So
I love it. I know we're going to kind of talk more about the team aspect, because this is actually the first time on the show that we've had a really defined team together. It's awesome to hear the background. So kind of like fate almost brought you together, right? Like that with that, that first interaction, Elaine's experience and the mentoring, and it sounds like Elaine certainly saw, potential in the Lianza as well. Alexa, did you come into the fold around about the same time?
No. So this was, when did you guys meet? Like how many years ago?
7 years. Wow.
7 years ago. Yeah. So that was obviously like a long way before I even came to the picture. I was actually just hired as like for the cosmetic surgery place. And then I like love to learn. I love to learn new things. Like for me, I feel like it's hard for me not to grasp a concept. And the team that we had before, you know, like we were migrating into something bigger, obviously better. You know, we're gonna do more aesthetics, even though I was working with a cosmetic surgery place. And then I felt the people here before just they weren't open-minded to learn new things. And so when Elaine's like, yeah, like I want us to like learn this new system, and I'm just like, okay, like just let me know like what to do. I think just like having that mindset of wanting to learn and wanting to grow, not only like as a person, but like even in your own company. And then they're like, yeah, well, you should start doing social media, and then you should start doing this. So I think being able to grow within the company, and I was just like hired as front desk because I was, you know, like in school in my undergrad, and like it gave me time to work and then time to like finish school. So and then now like I'm, you know, still here and still growing with them as well. So and that was a year and a half.
Mm. And that's awesome. And would love to, because you're all on a growth journey together, right? You're talking about different chapters really within life and within business and within that personal and professional growth. What has it been like since you've, you know, opened up the med spa? You know, you kind of go from the idea, the concept to, okay, now we're doing it. Would love to hear your experience on what that's been like, that journey with getting the med spa really off the ground. I think our listeners would have a lot to learn there as well.
It's been challenging, but I think it's, you know, finding the right people that A, understand you, B, have a good work ethic, and C, have like the same mission that you have. Do you know what I mean? It's not just about making money, which I'm sure that's nice, but to me, and you had the best term for it, kick them and treat them and treat them and treat them.
Treat them and treat them. Yeah.
Yeah, which we don't do.
Yeah.
We treat all of our patients, whether it's you're coming in for filler or just a skincare consult or laser treatment, or you've never had anything done, because everybody starts somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we pride ourselves on making you look refreshed, not done. I would like to trademark that, but I don't know that I can. So if anybody listeners out there,
Hashtag refresh, not done.
yeah, don't steal that from me. But we like pride ourselves on, again, like making you look like a refreshed version of you, because we hear so much of, well, I'm scared to do this, I'm scared to do that, and it's why. And it's because A, you see horror stories on social media, or B, you kind of look around, and it's not really judging people, but I think you get filler blindness, right? And it's I don't really necessarily blame the patient. I blame, and I'm just going to be direct and blunt, I blame the unethical practices of some providers out there continuing to add filler on top of filler on top of filler because you want to make money. To me, is just not how we roll. No, which I also think we get a lot of feedback from that too, is that our consults are very in-depth. Leanza gets great feedback. So do I. I'm like, wow, nobody's ever actually explained to me that's how neurotoxin works. When Alexis is on the phone, they might ask a question about a laser. Wow, I've never even been told that. Some places, not all, but some places are just in and out, in and out, in and out. And we want to get to know you as a patient. Like, we do marketing, right? Obviously, y'all are fabulous, but we have a lot of patients from family members, referrals. Like, our best patients are our referrals, you know. And actually, I had grandma, mom, daughter. Do you know what I mean? I have a couple of those. Do you know what I mean? And that's like the best compliment. And then they refer their friends. So I think making a big circle, just finding like the right team. And we have found that she and I get each other. We're very, very similar in personality. Do you know what I mean? Very type A. And Alexa's just, you know, very calm, and Leanne's is calm too, but Alexa's just very calm and positive, and I'm the exact opposite, I think.
Well, I love it. Just to break it down there a little bit, and I'm sure we can go even deeper, is, you know, what I was hearing is that number one is that you're all on the same page. There's you've got a mission, you've got a philosophy, which is doing things right, that the natural look that you mentioned. And it's pretty cool too, because the event that we came from last weekend was essentially, one of the themes was about educating patients, educating clients. You know, sometimes we take it for granted, right? You're experts in your space, but patients come in, and like you said, there can be fear, trepidation. They've seen horror stories, they've had bad experiences, and know somebody that has. But you've built really a referral stream from doing things right with those, you know, natural looks, and you've got different generations of patients that are coming in. Was that by design, or was that more organic as far as the intention to build things that way, and you've assembled the dream team that's here as well. I know a lot of med spas struggle with the hiring piece, and as you mentioned, the mission and the vision, this can struggle with that too. Be really helpful, Lynn, if you could break that down. And then Alexa and Lianza, would love to hear kind of how you complement and how you kind of extend that mission and vision and the education with your patients.
Yeah, I think first things first is we all have each other's backs, no matter what, right? So that's something I was raised on, and that's something I brought to the clinic, and I saw that they had similar values within that. So that's what I think is important and what kind of keeps us together as a team.
And I feel like too, like our core values, like I loved it, like the meeting that Marley had and y'all had at Med Spa Militia last week. Was it last weekend? Weekend before. I can't even keep straight these days. Let's go back. Yes. Peace out.
We will be doing another one, I'm sure. So we'll definitely communicate that. But yeah, time flies when you're having fun. It was a couple of weeks ago now.
But I feel like, really like we met afterwards, like diving into our core values. Like, what are our core values, right? So it's accountability, integrity, education,
personal growth,
devotion. And that, I think, speaks not just of like how we treat one another, do you know what I mean? But how we also treat our patients as well. We want them to have the best experience because, I mean, we live in this world every day, but going into a place and like never having something done before can be very intimidating, and it shouldn't be. But I understand why it is to some people. And we want to be able to provide them with basically anything that we're recommending. And I always jokingly say, I'm going to throw the kitchen sink at you, literally, but not really. But we don't want there to be any surprises. Do you know what I mean? So if you're wanting, skin resurfacing and you have a lot of sun damage and a lot of fine lines and wrinkles, you smoked your whole life. Do you know what I mean? A little bit of Dysport, Jeuveau, Botox, Xeomin isn't going to do it. Do you know what I mean? And literally just putting a game plan, like a recipe together for the patient. I think they really appreciate that. Even if they choose not to do it all, at least we really want to educate them to get where we could get your best results. We would need to do A, B, C, D, F, G, which to me is more, I don't know what the right term is, but it's better patient care and to educate them as opposed to, oh, surprise, I know you thought that doing a chemical peel with one laser treatment is going to fix everything. Oh, but now you got to do this, this, and this. I would rather lay it out. That way they can plan.
Yep. I love that. And something that I think a lot of our viewers will find really helpful as well is, you mentioned at the beginning, is it's that consultation, the time that you spend, that you invest, you're investing time with them to understand their needs so that you can truly create a plan for them to help them reach their goals. And it's not like that happens in 2 minutes, right? Because if somebody hasn't met you already, you kind of, number one, they have to get to know you a little bit, to like you a bit so that they can speak to you. We talk about the perfect patient consultation, and I get a sense that you kind of created that yourselves. Team, what does that look like for you, that consultation process?
It starts on the phone, to be honest with you, whether it's your team educating the patients or Alexa talking to them or Leanza talking to them. I think that's the first step. Because I mean, I could just imagine, sort of, but I live in the world, so it's hard for me to imagine, but I'll pretend that I can imagine. Calling a place and like, oh shoot, I want to take care of my skin. Well, that could mean like a million different things, right? Whether it's peels, lasers, skincare, you have acne, we don't know where to start. But you might see an ad, or you might see us on TikTok or Instagram. And by the way, how we are on social media really is our personalities. Like, I hate to break it to you. I mean, it that's us. But I don't know if that's good or bad, but we get compliments on a lot. We're very real. But I think that, it starts with like the initial point of contact, which is so important. And y'all do excellent on that. These two, amazing on that as well. And then from the consultation process, go ahead.
Ooh, put me on the spot. So we always really want to get a feel for what the patient expects out of the consultation, as well as their wants and needs. So they may come in for a promotion that we're running for that month. And in return, we still go over and I don't like to bring money into it, but say $7,000 plan that we have in order to get them to their ultimate goal, especially if they have, acne as well as deeper lines and wrinkles rather than just fine lines and wrinkles. So we really get I want to say like holistic involvement within the patient. And so that way, again, like Elaine said, they have a plan as well as they know, oh, okay, just by getting neurotoxins, my skin is not overnight going to glow, right? You've got to have other things on board in order to get them to their ultimate goal.
And I think with like the holistic approach too, we do like weight loss. We also do, and it's not just like, hey, take some labs, here's a drug. That's not how I run this practice. To me, it's a medication, and it actually goes hand in hand with skincare, right? So if a woman comes in, for example, and she's here to see Leanza for tops, right? Well, she's broken out in acne everywhere. She's got some facial hair. That's like she's had irregular periods. That's a sign of probably maybe PCOS, and so I think even kind of diving into that portion of it, checking their hormones and then maybe adding supplementation, maybe adding some acne medication, skincare, laser treatments. I think it's, and these patients don't know, because I've even asked patients like, I noticed that you are having some breakouts around your mouth. Is this around your period or your menstrual cycle? And they say, well, they're kind of irregular, and they're 33 years old. He or she, not he, scratch that. She is, in a challenging position. She's overweight. Her periods are irregular. So what's causing it? Is it thyroid? Is it stress? Is it hormonal imbalance? And I think just giving that patient confidence that we can check that here, right? And then potentially not only address it from like a tox peel skincare side, but also from an organic, like underneath side, whether it's, getting on some weight loss support, peptides or other peptides, right? That help your body, depending on what you're trying to achieve, right? But to help your body from the inside, and also even doing other medications to kind of help treat that concern.
Yep. I think some of the things you mentioned there as well, you can have a checklist of things that you should check for in a consultation, right? And I'm sure most people do, but there's things you mentioned there that you just can't have a checklist for, which is actually caring about the patient, actually like, noting some of those things that, asking those questions, digging a little deeper, and also having the relationship and the trust with them that you can ask those questions and they'll open up and tell you all of that. I know from having met you in person that there's a lot of, confident and charismatic and just warm personalities there. But is there any kind of advice that you'd give anybody who maybe they're trying to find that connection with the patient? Maybe they're just not as charismatic, or they don't have that connection that you do with your patients. What would you say to them?
I guess I'll go first. So I would have to say like, one thing that I think differentiates us from a lot of other med spas, and I think that really you can, like any med spa owners or any people that work in the med spa, that can help their clients feel that way or feel like this like warm, like, oh, they actually care about me, is also like listening to a patient. Like I've always said, like, I know I kind of joke about it, like treat them and treat them, but like nobody wants to go into any place where you're going to spend your money on and be like, okay, well, they just see me as like dollar signs. Like, like that's how we do this thing. That I love that we do this. Like Leanza and Elaine are really good at this. That when they come into a consultation, one of the first things that we do is we give them a mirror. And they're like, and we ask them, when you look at your face, what is the first thing that either you don't like about your face or makes you insecure, or something that you want to be better? And so we let the patient tell us, well, what's their biggest concern, because we're also not going to be like, oh yeah, well, you need all of these things. Like, well, then that's going to cause some insecurities. It's more of like, okay, well, how about you tell us what we can start with first, and then we'll come up with the game plan, and also listening to your patient on, even when it does come to money, maybe a patient does want all of these things, but they can't spend $7,000. They can only spend $2,000. They can only spend $500, like, okay, well, I understand that maybe money is tight. A lot of things in life happen. So it's like, okay, well, how about let's start with this first? So still, coming up with a game plan and maybe dividing it in sections or, okay, well, how about next time, we work towards this. So I think listening to your patients and not just telling them what they need, but also being that sounding board for them is so important. And I think that we're really good at that. And I think that that's also why our patients we do have that relationship with them. I mean, in the front, I do marketing, social media, I'm the patient coordinator. So even like the first main point of whenever you walk into a place, how do you feel welcomed? How do you feel seen? Like, oh, how's your day going? I mean, even those little conversations can like make someone's day different, and then obviously coming into the room and then meeting the injectors, Leanza and Elaine, honestly, like, it's just like, wow, like this place is so different. So I will say just, listening to your patient for sure, which a lot of places do not.
Yeah. Being yourself is so important too. Just like Marley was saying, you're going to find patients that you vibe with and patients that you do not vibe with, right? If you just genuinely be your true self. And I feel like it's kind of hard for us to hide our true selves, and our patients love it. They love our energy. They love our realness and our honesty as well.
To say that.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, twins.
So,
She's my brain.
and getting to know them, like what brings you in? I would say 75% of our patients come in because they have an event. They have a birthday coming up. They're going on vacation. They have something going on. And so whenever you ask them what brings them in, most of the time they'll kind of open up to you, right? And so, yeah, just developing that trust. It's important.
Yeah, I can definitely sense, and we spoke about it at the event too, there's the authenticity, there's just being yourself, putting your personality out that you all do so well, and leveraging on social media, which of course we love as well. So something that Alexa, that you said as well, I thought was really important was when you put together that care plan for them that is designed to help them get what they want, and then you can have that honest conversation as far as if it makes sense right now. I love what you said as far as breaking it down into chunks. You show them the possibilities, right? This is what you're looking for, and this is what it will take, and here's why. And then, well, I can't spend maybe 7, but I can spend 2. I think that's awesome, and I know that not enough of med spas are doing that. I'd love if you could expand on that just a little bit about how that how that process works, then how you can essentially to put it in crude terms, generate that sale, but you're kind of forming a bridge and a plan for that patient, right?
So there's multiple ways to go about this. So like I said, I literally say, I'm going to present the kitchen sink to you. Please don't faint. But literally, to achieve your goals, it would be advised to do this. And also of note, this doesn't mean we're going to do a $5,000 every single year. Because I think people get in their mind, holy shnikes. And if I could say shitballs on here, I would.
Oh yeah, you can say that, absolutely.
Okay, holy shitballs.
We want you to be yourself on the show here, absolutely. I've been able to drop a couple of F-bombs myself.
Anyways.
Probably.
But because then they have it in their mind, like, oh my gosh, like I could have bought a car in a few years with this money. Do you know what I mean? So I think if you have like a real conversation with these conditions are harder to treat, right? I actually like to ask the patient, what do you love about yourself? Because I like to start with positivity, and then we start with, what bothers you, and that will kind of lead the conversation. But, presenting them a plan, and then there's a couple options where it's, number one, this is to get you your dream. Like, this is to get your ultimate goal. We're not going to do this every year. You may need to come in for X or Y. You may want to peel before an event, but this is like the all a la carte or all encompassed menu, and we can break it down a couple of ways. We have great financing options. We love certain companies. They'll basically split it up into payments for the patient to make it a lot more affordable. We also started a monthly membership program. We have 2 separate programs, one for our heroes. So thank you very much. So that's our teachers, healthcare workers, military. And then we have our other membership, which is beauty. And basically you don't lose that money. There's a one-time initiation fee for both. And then you have beauty bucks that just goes into your wallet every month. And what that enables you to do is you'll get 20% off skincare. You'll get a discount on tox, filler. And so that also enables the patient, like, well, can I sign up for that today? And sure, okay, so great. So now you get, X number of dollars off a peel, and you can pay per month, or if you need to save up, it's already saved. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And I do that for my wellness appointments as well, for my peptides, weight loss, testosterone, HRT, just because it's a consult fee up front, right? Plus initial labs, plus lab interpretation, but it's a one and done fee. And then every month, the women pay a certain membership fee and the men pay a certain membership fee. The only thing it doesn't cover, obviously, is medications, but that gives them access to me on a monthly basis, or if they feel something's off or whatever reason, they're not having to pay for a follow-up visit or a consult visit. Plus, their labs are then already paid for the year when they pay monthly.
Right.
I found that's definitely helped, because if I tell you, Bref, hey, it's been 6 months or 4 months, we've just started on TRT. I need to draw like your labs again. It's going to be $179 plus 75 for me to interpret them. You're gonna be like, whoa, you know what I mean? Whereas if it's plus all the appointments in between, right, it adds up. But if you just pay for it monthly, it's a lot easier for
You're
both
in the
the
program,
patient and
right?
for me, right? Because it holds you accountable, because I don't want you to miss your follow-up appointments due to monetary reasons. And I don't want you to miss your follow-up appointments because I need to see you.
Yep. Yeah, it's like I said, it makes sense when from a both logical, but also now you got that relationship with the patient as well. A couple of things that we touched on here. We spoke about multiple services, kind of briefly in places, and the hormone therapy and the aesthetics piece. What are you seeing for your business? Like, what's really hot right now? What are you seeing that is really kind of like driving demand right now?
I think it depends. People are scared of chemical peels, especially because it's summer. But I will also say that's a misinformation, disinformation. I get confused between the two, so don't quote me. But we use a company called VI Peel. We have a lot of FITS 4, 5, and 6. And to those that don't know what that is, basically it's dark Hispanic, dark Indian, African American, where VI Peel's whole agenda was dark skin initiative, because out there's actually not a lot of lasers and chemical peels that are proven safe for individuals that are blessed with darker skin. So I honestly find that, doing chemical peels and educating patients in the summer, it's fine. Don't tell me you're going to go on a sailing ship the next day, right? That is really what happened, because the patient wanted to do a peel, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, great. I was like, please don't tell me you're going to go like sail a BBI tomorrow. She's like, well, actually, no, I am. I'm leaving. I'm like, okay. But I find that doing a chemical peel with our tox is a very big quick and simple procedure that gets better results than doing tox alone. If your budget is X number of dollars, Ref, I want you to use that on a peel and a little bit of tox, not all tox. Why? Because we need to address the underlying concerns of sun damage, fine lines and wrinkles. Maybe you have acne, rosacea, whatever it may be. Tox is like a Band-Aid, I'd also say we love combining that with our air-lace laser. It's safe on all skin types. And I'd also say we have something really special coming. We're having a big party in January. Oh my gosh, Elaine. In June, we have a new laser. It's a 1927 thulium laser that's by Nuvaderm. That is one of 3 in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that's going to be carrying it. And so we're doing a big launch in June.
Very exciting.
Amazing. So yeah. So I don't know. I think it depends on the patient too, about like what they want. But skincare is always, I don't know, like your skin's your largest organ, and whether we treat it with lasers or tox or peels, I'd rather start there than replacing volume. But that's me. It depends on the patient too. She loves doing lips. She does lips better than me. So now this is on the podcast. Now you can write this down in your book.
Yeah. You got the kind of special team players, right? And I love that as well.
I love doing lips, and I do a really good job. I do a really, really good job, but she does a fantastic job.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How about, is there any type of an outdated, practice or a misconception that you come across, or you think that needs to go? Is there still stuff that's floating around that are in patients' minds that you're like, hey, if you could say something right now to get that out of their mind, what would that be?
Skincare, viral skincare.
Oh my gosh. Drunk elephant.
Yeah.
This new caveman one.
Yeah. We see a lot of, even with very high-end labels, I won't say names, but
Mm.
we see a lot of patients who come in who don't have the results they could have because of the lack of medical grade skincare.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just grab it off the shelf. That marketing has got them there, but it's not necessarily
Yeah.
getting the outcome that they want, right?
We love TikTok, but definitely TikTok marketing is where a lot of these false hopes and false promises are being thrown out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I always say, like, do you really think that those influencers actually use their stuff? I don't know. I'm not them, but I will say more than likely they probably are also having other treatments done. Do you know what I mean? And from like a skincare perspective, we like to educate our patients. If you literally take the $800 cream, that's what it's going to sound like. Because I don't want to get in trouble by, Big Papa up there. Anyways,
They know who they are. They know who they are.
Yes, it's 2 words. Okay. It used to be half that. But, anyways, and it's like over the counter and literally full of fragrances, full of who knows what. Well, that $800 thing of muck or whatever you want to call it, you could literally buy more than enough of the skincare line that we carry, Revision, which is made here in Irving, Texas. It is backed by science and they stand by their product, and you literally could buy more than enough to last you 6 months. Yeah. And I also like to tell patients, like, grab, and there are some stuff that's fine over the counter, right? If you want to buy Cetaphil or the generic version for a gentle facial cleanser, go for it, right? But if you were to literally add up $20 here, $30 here, $5 here, and take everything that's underneath your bathroom sink and you're add it all up, and also examine like how much of that bottle you've actually used and like how much is being wasted, you could take that money and use it towards something that actually works. But again, patients don't know what they don't know because it's all marketing. Like if you go to Target now, there's some line, and I was actually watching a dermatology PA or NP educate patients on it. And some of the stuff's good, but it's literally for marketing purposes. They have literally this in a bottle, this in a bottle, this in a bottle, like every separate ingredient in a bottle. And if I was a patient, I wasn't even like, and I had no knowledge of skincare, I'd be like, holy shit balls, what is this? Oh, I guess I need this. I need this. I need that. I need this. I need this. Next thing you know, you're walking out with $200 worth of skincare and you don't even know how to use it.
Yeah. A lot of information out there, right? It's not always the best information, but that's what I love about your approach as well, which is getting that patient into the practice, having a conversation, and they're telling their friends about it. And you've also been increasing the word and kind of growing the business with other mechanisms as well. What would you say has been some of the keys to growth? You've got the foundation in place, you've got the team in place, which I think is so crucial. What else has been some of those ingredients towards growth that you've used to get here, but also things that you're looking to do more of into the future, things that are working for you?
Educate. I mean, hyaluronic pins or whatever that BS is are so illegal and so dangerous. Stop having your friend's sister's brother, aunt's uncle come to your house and inject nose filler. I've been a PA for 17 and a half years. I will do liquid rhinoplasties, but you got to know what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, people don't realize these are medical devices, like they're under my license or my supervising physician's license because I'm under, physician. Like, these are prescription medications. This is your face. This is your body. You get one. Do you know what I mean? And I think just also, if it sounds too good to be true, probably is. If you're literally getting Botox, not Dysport, but if you're getting Botox for $5 a unit, I'm going to tell you it is fake. %. Well, I can't prove that, but let's just hypothetically speaking, right? I think, patients don't know, right? And it's scary because you have people out there that are not nurses, that are not PAs or NPs, that are just injecting stuff into people's faces. And a lot of it's illegal product too. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're getting a syringe of filler for $200, like that's not even my cost. So there's no way. Do you know what I mean? And I think we do a lot of, and it's not to like make the patient feel bad. We always say we want you to be safe. You know what I mean? Like, whether you choose, we know you're going to come back and see us, right? But if you choose not to, this is what you need to look out for. I understand you got 20 units in your entire face of Jeuveau before Botox, but we go by what the FDA recommends, right? Dosage duration. And if you're treating the glabella region, which is like your angry 11 lines, that is 20 units. head, right? And you can just multiply by 2.5 for dysport, right? But forehead, it's anywhere 10 to 20 units, right? Crow's feet, 8 to 16 per side. And, patients get frustrated and they're like, well, my talks, they did 20 units in my whole face, but it only lasted like a month. And it's like, well, that's why, number one. Number two, or could unfortunately have been diluted. I don't even know where I was going with this squirrel. Do you?
Well, it's interesting. It's the education, right? There's a lot of stuff to look out for. Just with doing things right, doing things based off your medical expertise, your team's training, the credentials, and one thing that you've all mentioned there as well, I think, is Elaine, you said it specifically, was patient safety, making sure that you've got people out there that are using different pieces of equipment and they're trying to do things cheap, but maybe not safe. And when you mentioned that, it kind of touches on what we spoke about at the event recently, which was that patient experience. And Alexa, you're one of the kind of the first impressions that practices get right through to the consultation with Lianza, with Elaine as well. I'd love to know, just, is there any particular things that you do or you focused on as part of the overall patient experience to stand out, to do things differently, or to get your personality across, or anything specific?
Yeah. So I think definitely it does depend. Like, am I talking to them on the phone, or am I, they come in and they see me first? Regardless, I think just making them feel welcome. Like, honestly, I mean, this is just, like I said, like integrity, like that's kind of like what our, that is what we kind of also go by is, integrity is always like choosing to do the right thing, even when no one's looking. And that's what I've always been like this, no matter what I've done, like ever since I was a child, I've always thought this way. And I think that like the same thing goes with our patients. Like, I don't know. I don't also want to be fake towards them. Like, oh my gosh, like, hi, welcome. And then I'm like talking about them. Like, honestly, I'm really not like that at all. I make you feel welcomed and seen. And that goes on the phone or seeing you in person. Because think about it, like I have been in places where, the person at the front desk and stuff, like they see you and they're doing stuff. Like me, even if I'm busy in the middle of something, I'm like, oh, give me 1 second and I'll be right with you. I think just making people feel like seen. And, once you're a patient, obviously you're going to feel loved here. Like that is also like what we are. Yes, we're funny. Yes, we have like this, charismatic personality, but we also make them feel loved. And that's why sometimes people will come and like, they'll just start talking to us, about what's going on in their life, and I think having that compassion as well. And so educating them, like what Elaine was just saying, education, because I spend time, if it's not Elaine or Leanza, I also spend time with them, educating them. Even if I'm 15, 20 minutes on the phone, like I will sit there and people are like, wow, like nobody ever explains to me things like this. And that's why people come in here and like, well, that's what Elaine was saying. Like they'll come in here and they're like, well, I had 20 units on my entire face. Well, how about let's educate you for a second? Obviously not making them feel dumb or, less than, but being like, hey, like maybe there was a lack of education here. So we'll break it down to them. So like I said, I think meeting their needs and making them feel seen for sure is like, and heard as well is what I say. People will, they'll come to a place. Yeah. We have pressures going on, but the reason why a lot of our patients also come back and stay, because of that feeling like you're important, even if you're stepping into a med spa office, we're here to help you and, to boost your confidence as well. So
I love it. Elaine, anything that you'd add to that?
I would just reiterate, like, knowledge is power for the patient. I think that we do get a lot of feedback about how in depth our conversations are with them. And it's not because we're trying to sell them something. It's really, we want them to have a really good experience and for them to understand why we are choosing certain recommendations, right? I think, when a patient understands or a patient knows, I don't want to say they're more than likely to choose the recommendations, but if you have an understanding of how something works, at least to me, that's I just like to know how things work or why I'm doing something. It builds confidence, I guess is the right term. And we know they're going to come back, right? But I have a lot of patients that come in from out of town, right? But if they are out of town or not coming in to see me for it, or they couldn't get in, let's say they go see somebody else, at least they have an education as to if whomever they're seeing is like, okay, no, I don't know why Elaine did 42 units of Jeuveau to treat your forehead, glabella, and crow's feet, don't worry, we'll just do 20 units, And I think giving that patient the courage to say, well, this doesn't make sense, and to ask the right questions, I like when it comes to filler, for example. I mean, there's always risk. Every time I do filler, I aspirate, right? If you don't aspirate, well, that's a whole nother topic for discussion. But, there's always risk. And anytime I do that, we always explain the risk and benefits to the patient, right? But it should be taken seriously. This isn't, and there's certain areas of the face that are more worrisome to inject than others, right? And I think that's important to like convey to the patients too, that somebody who's been injecting for 1 year should not be doing jaws, should not be doing liquid rhinoplasties, should not be doing temples, in my professional opinion. So you know what I mean? And I think just giving that patient the confidence of, this is how long I've been doing it, this is how long Leanne's is doing it. We also take continuing education. Like I've taken an anatomy course. I took Dr. Surek's initial anatomy course, Fear of Injection is Fear of Anatomy, 5 years ago, actually. And I've taken multiple anatomy classes. I go to conferences twice, sometimes 3 times a year, just to keep up with my skills. And I pass them along to Leanne's and Alexa and explain not just like new and upcoming trends, but there's that saying too, if you, and Leanne's, of course, obviously attends conferences as well. But if there's that saying where if you think you know it all, right, that's when you start having problems, whether you've been doing this for 1 year, 1 day, or 50 years. And I think it's important to convey to those patients that we do take this seriously. This isn't, patients ask, well, why are your syringes $800 a piece? Well, if you join our membership, they'll be $100 less. If you buy multiple, they'll be less, right? But again, it's because of my expertise, her expertise. Do I know it all? No. But we have that continuing education.
Yep. And that's basically built into, it kind of comes back full circle, right? It's into your core values. You spoke about the, the patient experience, the compassion, the integrity, and that shines through in all of those pieces of the conversation, to the point where you're educating your patients so that if they did go somewhere else, for example, then all of a sudden they're like, wow, they didn't even ask me those questions and they're recommending less. Yeah, it's going to cost me less, but I actually want to pay more. I'm sorry, I got to go, and then run back. You know what I mean? But what you said there, I think, is so powerful for anybody listening. Is there's so many gold nuggets that you shared today, and for me, a lot of it comes down to that: the integrity, the education. Not only you educating the patient, but the educational, the criteria and the certifications that you've gone through yourselves. You've invested in yourselves, you've invested in your business, and you're providing a tremendous patient experience. And I loved hearing about it today, and our audience did too. What's coming up next? What does the next, back in the day we used to say 10 years, which seems like an eternity now, but what do the next few years look like for you all here? I know you've got the event and you've got some really fun things coming up.
We're in the process of moving to a secret location. No, I'm just kidding.
Secret.
No, we're waiting on the lease to be finalized, but we'll be moving not far. We'll still be in Dallas-Fort Worth area. A couple miles from here. We've outgrown this space, which is good. And different vibe there. And we have a new laser that's coming on board. We offer to do like full facial skin rejuvenation, skin resurfacing, hair treatments. Let's see. Trying to think what else. Just growing,
That's exciting. That's really exciting. Yeah,
Thank
you like I said, you've outgrown the location. You got new services coming in. That's truly awesome. What does that look like for you with the new services? Have you identified certain listen to the patients, certain types of services that you see the demand for? What approach did you take there?
Yes, I think what's the meaning, like, why did I buy this device?
Yeah, just wondering, like, because that's actually, we could actually do a whole show on that. But when it comes to buying devices, you either pick a winner, or some practices don't. And there's a number of different reasons why people have success with different treatments, or why some machines gather dust. But would love to hear from you, just, how you have that selection process and how you pick the next piece of equipment or device or treatments to offer.
So that's a great question. So we have, and I love our reps, don't get me wrong, but you got to get through the gatekeeper, this gal right here. And when you meet with me, I actually know a fair amount about these devices. And if and this isn't meant to be cocky, right? But if I ask you questions and you cannot support it with an answer that A,
that you're selling too.
right.
Yeah.
Like, you want me to buy this, but I already have the baby version of it. Why am I going to go spend $180,000 on that? That's dumb. That makes no financial sense. Explain to me why that makes financial sense. And if you can answer questions like that are truthful, and I'm not truthful, but from your core, if you really believe, because you can always tell if somebody's just trying to sell you something or if they actually believe in it. Do you know what I mean? Because I have been burned in the past with divisive. One sitting in this room, which shall remain unnamed. But the to me, it's like finding out like what our patients could use. You know, I love our aerolase laser, 1064 YAG, FDA approved for all skin types. Do you know what I mean? I wanted a more in-depth laser with the different wavelength that can be even more ablative than the 1064 YAG. It's non-ablative. I want something that could be non-ablative and ablative, as well as treat hair. Because I do have a fair amount of, not fair, but I have my long-standing clients that I've been treating for years for hair growth. And, you know, PRP has kind of like been there, done that. Do you know what I mean? It's great. But now they're actually having lasers that will stimulate your hair follicles. Then you lay some exosomes on top and it's like fertilizing your lawn. Do you know what I mean? And just to be able to offer that to patients, I think is fabulous. And it has minimal to no downtime either.
That's exciting. Excited. Yeah, I'm excited for y'all with what you have coming up into the future, and we'll definitely have to have you back on again. I feel like we're just scraping the surface on some things, and when you get into the new location, and you're going to have, like you said, different vibe. And I know you've got some. It's going to be different. You're going to be at just a further juncture down the journey, and I'm excited to hear about that. I'm sure the audience will be too. Is there any kind of like anything else that you wanted to convey today? Any other message or advice you might have for anybody who's listening?
I say just like what Alexis talked on, like part of our core values is just integrity, be yourself. And Marley had touched on it too, because we've gone through our fair share of I don't even like the term turnover, poor fits for the practice that probably should not have been here, but out of my own feelings as opposed to business. You know, Marley asked me, well, why are they still there? Or why were they still there? You know what I mean? It's like, listen to your gut, you know, and it's not necessarily saying that person's bad or doing something wrong, but they have to be on the same mission as you. And it's very obvious when someone is not. Yeah. And if you feel that in your gut, you need to listen to it, you know? And I'm not saying fire somebody today, but I'm just, because that's terrible, right? But you need to have a conversations, be open, have an open door policy, be very open with your staff and like, look, this is what I see going on. A, are you okay? Okay, great. You're good. Okay. B, this is the goal of the practice. Are you going to meet these goals? Do you have these values? You know, is this something you're even interested in? You know, and if they're not, they may even be like, oh, thank God. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you have to get it from their side too. Have you ever been in a job where you're just like, God, this sucks. You wake up every day and you're like, God, this sucks. I have to go to work. I have to go to work. You don't want that vibe.
Yeah,
for sure.
I was like, during the conference when we were doing the round tables and all, you know, there was this one Med Spa owner, or I think she was one of the managers, that she was saying how, you know, how she was talking about, you know, sometimes she dreads going to a certain part of the building because she knows that there's going to be some drama there. And she was like, but, you know, but they're like a really, really good worker, you know, it's just like all this drama. And she was like, but I know that they can be better. I know that they can be better. And I told her, I was like, look, I don't mean to overstep here, but I was like, you know, have someone in your life and in your business, you know, not for potential, but for what their patterns are, you know? And so I think that like a lot of,
you should quote that. Can you put that on the wall?
Potential, not patterns. There's a couple of big quotes from today.
Yeah, so no, seriously, it's gonna be on the wall. Next thing you know, it's like tomorrow, it's gonna be on the wall. But I was like, you know, you get to choose who you add into your life. You know, you get to choose what your life looks like. You get to choose who's in your life daily. And you know, I wasn't at first. I wasn't saying anything. I was just listening to her, and I just heard her complain about it so much. And I was like, you have the power to surround yourself with people who uplift you, not who put you down. You know? And that can be in a business perspective or in a personal, you know, day-to-day life perspective as well. And so I think that I'll have to like, you know, leave it at that with a lot of Med Spa owners. And I think that's why I love that Marley also touched base on that. It's like, okay, you know, why? Yeah, like I'm going to love you and I'm going to, work with you and I want to have these conversations with you. But if you also keep having those same patterns, then it's time to let you go. And sometimes, do you want someone to be an anchor on your boat, or do you want them to help, like keep rowing the boat, and trying to, I think having that as well with your own self. And like, if you have that confidence as a leader in your med spa, then people are going to be like, okay, well, so you can either go one of both ways. Yeah, sorry, I can do this better. And then they start to become a better person, or are they going to continue sinking the boat that you're trying to hold over water? So, yeah.
Yep. That's awesome. And I think, it's having that conversation, number one, and also the way that you both articulate how to have that conversation. There's just a lot of gold there as well. There's having it in the right way. And as we all heard over the weekend, it's about, you got to try and make sure there's not like continuous new holes being dug in your boat, or those anchors as well. Yeah. I really appreciate the time that we spent together today. I thank you so much. I do want to make sure if there's anybody listening or watching the recording here and they want to learn more about what you're all doing, the impact that you're spreading, maybe want to get in touch, what's the best way for them to connect or to reach out?
Social media, probably. You could do Injector Elaine PAC. That's mine
on Instagram.
On Instagram.
And then our Instagram, the Med Spa of DFW. And if you send us a message on there, it'll send you like an automatic response, and you might think we're not going to respond back, but I always just go like scroll past the automatic response, and then I'll either Elaine, Leanza, and I will go on there and we'll respond back to you with any questions, concerns, or any feedback too.
That's awesome. Well, Alexa, Elaine, and Leanza as well, thanks so much for joining on the show. Super excited and can't wait to hear about the continuation of your growth story.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Hey, it's Brett here with Clinic Grower, and I've got a quick favor to ask. If you're loving the Aesthetics Growth podcast, go ahead and hit that like or hit that subscribe, more importantly, so that we can keep bringing you the best of the industry. I really want this to be impactful and the highest quality, and the best way that you can help us to do that is to hit that like, hit that subscribe. And remember, if you would like to be a guest on the Aesthetics Growth podcast, go to clinicgrower.com/podcast.
This is the Aesthetics Growth Podcast.